Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another Bleach review, of course, today on this Thursday morning, June 2nd, 2016. So today's chapter is Bleach 676, Horns of Salvation. So you remember the last chapter, I did make a prediction that it is quite possible that Ichigo has some energy left over from the Hollow itself. And not only that, it was also hinted in the series even after he lost his power, his Soul Reaper his Soul Reaper powers, that he still has that, or spiritual energy, that he still had some sort of energy living within him. And it was then clear that that energy that we're talking about, that spiritual energy that we're talking about, actually belonged to the Hollow itself. And now we actually get to see it manifested, but Ichigo probably has control of the Hollow now instead of the Hollow having control over his body instead. And he's not able to manifest that property, as you can see here. Now, for the reason for one missing horn, or is basically because you remember back then during the Espada arc, he fought Ulquiorra Schiffer or Cypher, whichever one you want to call him. It's basically Espada number 4, and when he turned into a bat, which he translates in Spanish into Murciélago. He actually cut off one of his horns because he was actually out of control at the time, but he was using this Hollow and he had no idea how to control it. Now he has more or less an idea how to control it, and I will see what he's going to do with that power in this current chapter, Bleach 676, Horn of Salvation. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's start off the top of page 1. We see here a picture of Ichigo, of course, facing the opposite direction. But Orihime is very familiar with the form. As you can see, her face is she's in shock right now with the simple fact that he's still able to transform into that Hollow. But she's afraid because she thinks he has no control over it. But somebody tells me he has control over it. Orihime just has to wait and see. And see if Ichigo is Ichigo or is the Hollow taking over him. But it looks like he has great control over him, being that he has made amends with both the Tenza Sangetsu blade, which is the black blade, and the white blade, or katana, should I say. Correction, katanas. They were once separate, now they're all one. So she see her calling out to Kurosaki here on page 1. Let's go on to page 2 and let's see what on page 3. Let's see this fan art, which most likely there is, knowing how these starts. Yeah, the fan art would draw a picture. You see how his face looks like right there. It's half and half, so something tells me he's not really has a full-fledged transformation of it yet. You see Uryu there, drawing of Uryu here using his powers, of course, of Quincy. So page 1, Orihime was scared. She had no idea he had control over it. So Ichigo goes, yo. It looks so weird because he turns around. It's like this long horn just sticking out of his head. So it's like this kind of a sideways look to it. Just like, really? So I'm just guessing either that means he doesn't have full, he doesn't have either because he has a smaller amount of it left, he only could use half of his power, or he only could use half of his power because he still hasn't learned how to manifest it completely throughout his entire body. But right now they've become, remember, it was first described in the last chapter that both blades have become one. The dark and white blades have, katanas actually become one, which basically that's referring to the Tenza Sangetsu's blade and the blade of the Hollow itself. There stands Ichigo, the same as he ever was. So the Horn of Salvation. So it's just one horn and refers to the horn sticking out of his head, or Horn of Salvation. Relax, Ino. This time, I'm still me. So he makes it clear that this time, instead of the Hollow taking control of my body, I'm the one controlling it. Your resemblance to a Hollow is striking. Is this the Hollow from you take when you melt together with your power? It is. So Ichigo tells him, oh, okay, so Yuarch is impressed with the simple fact that he was able to transform into the Hollow, but is this the form you take when you melt them together? And he says it is. And you see him as serious as ever. The Quincy powers I inherited from my mother, old man Sangetsu, and the Shinigami powers I inherited from my father, the Hollow within me. While constantly at odds with each other, those two have finally found balance. And as Sangetsu, I reforged these two swords. So he's giving an explanation that they used to be at odds with each other, both Ichigo and Tenza Sangetsu. Now they have found peace. They found ground, equal grounds for each other, and Ichigo took that opportunity to meld both of the swords together to come up with something even much more powerful than what he ever had before. What is it exactly? Let's delve into page 8 and let's find out what is it exactly. So if they remain under control while the balance between them is maintained, then it stands to reason that they should come forth if the balance is destroyed. Up until now, whenever I unleash massive amounts of Shinigami and Hollow power, this thing has always come out of me. To be honest, since this power has been melded together with mine, it would be a whole lot more convenient if I could draw it out at will. But I'm still far from mastering that, which is why I use your power to give me that nudge. So basically, Ichigo at the very beginning, he was using Yuwatch's power and using him at the same time to actually meld the powers together and see if we can have a feel to the power of the Quincy. So have a feel power of the Quincy to be able to mold the Quincy, the Shinigami, and the Hollow's powers together to create one. He makes it clear, like I said before, when the chapter began, he doesn't have full control of it as of right now because he only can transform half of his body into the Hollow formation. Once he does, though, his entire body will get that marking that the other side of his body has. So Yuwatch seems now a bit, a bit nervous once Ichigo takes the first step. So let's see what happens now. Was truly to be one of the battles of the ages, of course. Kurosaki, when did you get in front of my Reika? So apparently Reika is shield. So her shield. So Ichigo, just like the Espadas, I'm not sure you're familiar with this, he's able to use what's often referred as Sonido. Sonido is basically, it's like Flash Step, but just a much faster reaction in the sense that you can move without the enemy noticing. And when they do, you either A, already in front of them, or B, right behind them. So Ichigo's in front of Orihime, and she's like, wait, when the hell did you get in front of me? And quite frankly, this is what Ichigo is using, Sonido, because it was hinted at by one of the Espadas, I think it was Grimjow, that he actually mentioned that Ichigo can actually indeed use Sonido. While he was in his Hollow form, of course. Let's spread out a bit. Keep your Reika defending my Retsu and make your back to safety. Got it. So Ichigo's planning to keep Orihime around for this battle, and he's telling her, let's spread around and let's take this guy. And that's exactly what they're going to do. Such magnificent power. Very well. I suppose the time has come for me to draw my sword as well. So now Yuwatch will draw his sword finally. So let's see. So while he was about to draw this power, Ichigo actually grabbed his hands. Basically, his reaction is not fast. Is not fast enough to keep Ichigo at bay. Rather, Ichigo is faster to keep Yuwatch at bay from even using his attacks. So we see Ichigo here going at the attack, an action sequence on page 12. And we see Yuwatch with a shocked face, obviously. Now let's go to the top of page 13, and let's see what continues to happen here as we progress to this chapter of 676, the Horns of Salvation, of course. So more action sequences, a lot of clashing. Surely you jest. So Yuwatch is basically saying, surely you're joking, right? But I'm guessing Yuwatch is saying that because he's like, why is he so strong all of a sudden? So with the meager strength, your blade could never hope to pierce me. Getsuga Tenshu, is it? Different approach, same predictable result. So it says Getsuga Tenshu, is it? Same predictable result, same approach. But it seems like Ichigo was actually able to get him right there and then with that attack and see what he did with the attack. Exactly. It looks like he did a kind of a kaleidoscope kind of technique with it. Wait, this isn't a normal Getsuga Tenshu. So now Yuwatch realizes this isn't a normal, it's called Lunar Fang, by the way. You were wondering what's the translation for the normal Getsuga Tenshu. He says this is different because you look at the top of page 15, it has more of a kaleidoscope kind of look to it. So we've never seen that before. He's using his horns actually to make this one. He fused something together with the Getsuga Tenshu. Grand Rei Seto. So if you remember when Ichigo fought the Espadas, he used Seto. He used Grand Rei Seto on Ulquiorra Schiffer before shortly after he was decapitated by a few hits that Ichigo dealt towards him. He uses Grand Seto against Uwatch, and of course this brings so much attention back to the Espada because the last person who used Grand Seto in my memory recently was Grimjow. So basically, it's a stronger form of the normal Seto itself. It's basically a huge laser that either shoots out of their finger or horns if they have any. Ichigo can use this technique because he's at the same level as they are, if not higher, with the Hollow, Quincy, and Shinigami powers melded into one. And Yuash was able to figure out, like, wait a minute, but he melded them together, but he still can't get his mind across as to how he did this. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for joining me today on this wonderful chapter of 676 Bleach, Horn of Salvation. And we see Ichigo pull out all the stops against Yuash, the almighty A, although he's not really all that mighty now. So, an unparalleled brandish. Flash of the Hollow King. So that's what Grand Rey Zero means. Grand Rey Zero means. Flash of the Hollow King. So nonetheless, a pretty interesting chapter. Ichigo pulling out the stops, bringing back the Hollow to the picture, bringing some of that nostalgia from the Espada arc with the Grand Rey Zero and the form that he's currently in now. He's kind of a Vaster Lord, if you know what that means. He's kind of a Vaster Lord. He's pretty much at that level now. If you remember, they used to take a Vaster Lord is, then you have a Ronkars. The Ronkars have their mask ripped, while Espadas is just like a more advanced transformation of that. It's basically after they can leave the mask behind and become one with their powers. Ichigo is kind of like this. He have left the mask behind, no longer has it, so he kind of is now comparable to that of an Espada, which is pretty shocking, being that his powers actually grew just exponentially. I mean, they could use a Sonido because what hints is out he may never notice when he actually jumped right in front of him to actually confront Yuwatch himself, and Orihime, of course, included in this battle. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you're new to my channel, don't forget to subscribe, and also don't forget to follow me on Twitter as well. Have yourself a great day.